Life, Alan Watts once said, is not a journey with a destination, it's a dance. We don't dance to reach the end of the song, we dance because the music moves us. And yet, somewhere along the way, humanity forgot how to dance. We began treating life as a race, a desperate, endless climb toward goals that vanish the moment we touch them. We turned what was meant to be a melody into a march. Watts looked at this modern obsession with control, productivity, and success, and saw tragedy not in failure, but in how we misunderstood the very purpose of being alive. He wanted to remind us that existence itself is play, not struggle, it's something to be experienced, not conquered. Watts had a way of speaking that was both playful and profound. He could take the deepest philosophical questions, why are we here? What is the self? What is God? And turn them into something beautifully human, something you could feel. He believed that the greatest mistake of mankind was taking life too seriously. To him, the universe wasn't a factory, nor a test, nor a machine grinding toward progress. It was a performance, a cosmic improvisation, a divine play, what ancient Hindus called Leela. And in this play, each of us is both actor and audience, both dancer and dance. But we forgot. We forgot because we were taught from birth that life has a goal, that we must strive and achieve, that our worth depends on progress. We're told to grow up, to plan, to compete, to reach something called success, a word so heavy it has crushed countless spirits under its weight. Alan Watts looked around at this system and laughed, not out of mockery, but out of compassion. You are all playing a game, he said, pretending that you are not playing. In other words, we're living as if life were serious business, and in doing so, we've lost touch with the joy that animates existence. He often used music as a metaphor. When you listen to a symphony, you don't rush to the finale. You savor every note, every pause, every rise and fall. The beauty is in the unfolding, not the end. Yet in life, we are taught to hurry, to skip the verses and chase the chorus. We move from school to job to marriage to retirement, as if ticking off boxes in a cosmic checklist. And then one day, we look back and realize, we never truly listened to the music. Watts said this is why modern people are anxious, restless, and discontent. We've mistaken life for something that must be accomplished, rather than experienced. To see life as a dance is to understand that it doesn't have to go anywhere. You don't dance to arrive, you dance because you are moved. That's what existence is, movement, rhythm, flow. The universe is constantly creating and dissolving itself, not because it must, but because it delights in doing so. The stars burn, the planets spin, the tides rise and fall, not out of duty, but out of joy. You are part of that same cosmic rhythm. You breathe in, breathe out. You grow, you decay, you feel, you forget. It's all one magnificent movement. Watts would say, you are something the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is something the whole ocean is doing. But the modern mind, conditioned by centuries of competition and control, doesn't trust the flow. We want to grab life by the collar, to direct it, to make it serve our plans. We call this ambition. Watts called it anxiety disguised as purpose. Because beneath our obsession with control lies fear, fear of uncertainty, fear of death, fear of being nothing. So we build our lives like fortresses against impermanence. We plan, we calculate, we chase, all in an attempt to outwit the inevitable. But Watts said that when we fight the natural rhythm of existence, we lose the music. We move stiffly, mechanically, like dancers afraid of missing a step. Life becomes tension instead of expression. He often asked, What would happen if we stopped trying to control everything? He knew the answer: we would start to live. We would rediscover spontaneity, playfulness, and peace. When you dance, you don't analyze your every move, you let the rhythm guide you. In the same way, when you trust life, you stop demanding that it fit your expectations. You allow yourself to be surprised, to change, to flow. That, for Watts, was the essence of wisdom, not knowing how to control life, but knowing how to move with it. He drew heavily from Eastern philosophies like Taoism and Zen Buddhism, which emphasize harmony with the natural flow, what the Chinese call Wu Wei, effortless action. In Taoist thought, the wise person doesn't struggle against the current, they move with it, like water around a rock. Watts saw this not as passivity, but as supreme intelligence, because the universe is not chaotic, it has its own rhythm. When you fight it, you suffer. When you align with it, you dance. But in the West, we've been conditioned to distrust ease. We think that struggle equals virtue, that effort equals value. We worship busyness. We measure worth in exhaustion. Watts saw this as one of modern civilization's deepest illusions. He said, the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. Yet, everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. We are always trying to get somewhere, spiritually, financially, emotionally, as if somewhere is more real than here. But what if this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, is the point? To truly grasp Watts' idea that life is play, not struggle, is to change how you see everything. Work becomes expression, not punishment. Love becomes exploration, not possession. Even pain becomes a dance, a movement of contrast that gives rhythm to joy. For Watts, the tragedy of life wasn't death or suffering, it was seriousness. He saw seriousness as a kind of blindness, a refusal to see the humor and lightness woven into reality. To be serious, he said, is to take yourself as more than part of the play, to forget that you are also the actor, the audience, and the stage itself. He once asked, "What would you do if money were no object?" The point wasn't financial, it was existential. What would you do if you stopped living as if life were an obligation? Most people, when they imagine such freedom, describe activities that bring them joy: art, travel, music, creation. That's because our deepest nature longs to play, to create, to express. Watts believed that's exactly what the universe is doing, playing with itself, exploring itself, expressing itself through you. Every laugh, every tear, every thought, every heartbeat, all of it is the cosmos improvising. But this doesn't mean life is easy or that we should ignore pain. Watts never denied suffering. He simply saw it as part of the game, not an enemy, but a teacher. He said that trying to eliminate pain is like trying to have a dance with only one foot, impossible and incomplete. Suffering gives meaning to joy, loss gives depth to love. The dark notes make the melody rich. To live fully is not to escape pain, but to see it as movement within the grand symphony of existence. In this sense, acceptance is not resignation, it's participation. To accept is to say yes to the dance, even when you don't know the steps. Watts would remind us that the universe doesn't ask you to be perfect, it asks you to be present. The river doesn't apologize for its direction, the clouds don't resist the wind. Why, then, should we resist our own becoming? He often spoke about how humans separate themselves from nature, as if we were visitors rather than expressions of it. We say, "I came into this world." But Watts said, "You didn't come into it, you came out of it, like a wave from the ocean." To him, this realization was liberation. When you see yourself not as an isolated ego but as the universe playing in human form, the anxiety of existence begins to dissolve. You stop trying to prove yourself and start to experience yourself. You stop asking what life means and begin to feel what life is. He called this state the art of living. It's not something you learn, it's something you remember. You already knew how to live when you were a child. Children play not because it's productive, but because it's natural. They don't ask, "What's the purpose of this game?" They just play. And in that play, they are completely alive. What's often said that wisdom is rediscovering the innocence of play, but with the depth of awareness. To live like a child with the understanding of an adult, that is enlightenment. The problem, he said, is that we confuse seriousness with responsibility. We think being adult means being heavy, rigid, and anxious. But true responsibility comes from awareness, not tension. The more you align with life's rhythm, the more gracefully you act. The more you trust the flow, the more naturally you respond to what arises. Watts believed that this kind of spontaneous intelligence, not calculation, is the highest form of wisdom. He compared it to jazz. In jazz, there's structure, but within it, infinite improvisation. The players are free to explore, yet they never lose the rhythm. That's how life is meant to be lived, guided by rhythm, not rules. You move, you create, you respond, all without the burden of should. You live in harmony with what is. When you realize this, even death changes meaning. Watts often said that fearing death is like fearing the end of a song. But every ending makes the song beautiful. Life's impermanence is not a curse, it's the very reason it matters. You don't cling to a dance, you dance while it lasts. To Watts, death was not the opposite of life, but part of it, the pause between notes, the stillness between movements. To reject it is to reject half the music. He wanted people to wake up, not in the mystical sense of escaping reality, but in the simple sense of seeing reality. To wake up is to realize that the game you've been playing, chasing success, approval, security, is just that, a game. And once you see it, you can finally play it with joy. You can laugh at the absurdity, smile at the uncertainty, and dance with the imperfection. That's what he meant by spiritual freedom, the ability to live without clinging. And in that harmony lies peace. Not the peace of escape, but the peace of acceptance. The peace that comes when you realize you were never separate from the dance, you were always the rhythm, the melody, the movement itself. Watts wanted us to rediscover that truth, that the purpose of life is not to reach an end, but to play, to sing, to dance, and to remember that even in the moments of sorrow, the universe is still smiling through you. So, the next time you feel lost or anxious, remember this: you are part of something vast, spontaneous, and beautiful. Life is not a task to complete. It is a song to be sung, a dance to be danced. Don't rush to the finale. Don't measure your worth in steps taken or goals achieved. Just dance, for the joy of movement, for the beauty of existence, for the simple miracle of being here at all. Because as Alan Watts would remind you, this is it. And if you can't be happy here, you won't be happy anywhere. Life was never meant to be a struggle. It was meant to be a dance.